Hello everyone, welcome to ASEI Youth Corner. I'm Aditya Guthey, ASEI Youth Coordinator. Outside of ASEI, I'm also a communication coach for tech professionals. Today we have Taarini Kaur. She's a high schooler, 18 years old. Well, here are some other interesting names. She's a venture capitalist, Forbes Writer, TEDx Speaker, and diversity empowerment champion. She's the founder and managing partner of venture capital firm called Brave14 Capital. That's when she started it, at age 14. She's raised $870,000 in funding from venture capitalists and institutional investors in the US. She's the youngest person the youngest person to win the Young American Indian Award from the Indian ambassador to the US Navtej Sarna. At age 13, she wrote her first book. Well, I can keep going, right, with her introduction and her achievements, but I'm going to stop right there and welcome Taarini. Hello, Taarini. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
To add to her introduction, right now it's 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday on July 4th weekend, and she's up and doing this interview. I can take the credit because I'm in the East Coast. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, so I can't take the credit, but she's up at 7 o'clock. That also speaks volumes about her commitment and discipline. So Taarini, tell us a little more about your story on what drove you to become the person you are today.
First of all, thank you once again, Aditya. So what drives me to be the person I am today? It's the idea of helping others through different avenues, whether it's venture capital or entrepreneurship. I was in 5th grade when I wanted to start a basic entrepreneurship club in my school because, well, the reason was because DECA and FBLA were only available for high schoolers, and I wanted those opportunities for people of my age. But it took me around 3 years to actually convince my school that, a child could actually start an entrepreneurship club. And finally, they did allow me to do that. It was in 8th grade. So that's one thing that has really driven me to venture capital and entrepreneurship, giving people the opportunities that aren't necessarily given to them. And I learned early on through that experience that gender and age gap biases are pretty pervasive. So boys would tell me that, girls could never become CEOs. And, one day, as I mentioned this story earlier, there was a student in my class in 6th grade in Algebra 1 where, he came up to me and he said, girls can really never become CEOs. And I was infuriated. So I took a magazine the next day, which had a cover photo of Elizabeth Holmes at the time, and slammed it onto his desk to show that, it is very much possible for us to also become CEOs. So that led me to sharing my lessons and learnings in my book to help other kids to overcome these biases. After the school club and my book, I realized that entrepreneurship is an uplifter and an equalizer as well, because it's helping a lot of people, and when sort of positioned correctly, can really have an impact on the world in terms of social impact and giving marginalized communities the sort of representation and amplifying that they deserve. So I concluded that we do need to, this led me to venture capital since I learned that it has this sort of domino effect. And I concluded that we need to fund and, represent these sort of marginalized minorities if we want to drive a change. So that was the sort of idea of my venture capital fund and creation. And these have all been sort of driving factors, sorry about that, throughout my life. It was kind of just a step-by-step process, but the original idea is the idea of helping people and others from underrepresented communities.
Thank you for sharing that story, Taarini. Earlier, you were talking about how the entrepreneurial stories were shared by your parents when you were around age 6 really inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship. But there were also times when sometimes your parents would be indifferent, right? Because parents are concerned about our career growth, and they want you to go to school and do the traditional things. So even though you got a lot of encouragement, but there were also times when they were indifferent. There were also times when we might not be motivated ourselves. So during those times when some of our loved ones are indifferent to what we want, or maybe times when we are less motivated, how did you find that fuel to be able to move forward?
So definitely one thing that really helped me move forward was seeing other people around me, whether students in my class, students from my people from my SIG community, people who weren't able to sort of break out of those societal barriers and the sort of barricades that they've put in front of themselves. Seeing them sort of, I guess, in a way, trapped in their own sort of mentality and thinking really pushed me to continue to break out of it so that others could also see further. It's this Rupi Kaur quote that I think about a lot. I stand on the sacrifices of a million women before me, thinking, what can I do to push the mountain forward so the women in front of me can see further? And this doesn't just apply to women, it applies to people of other marginalized communities or everyone in general. It's the idea of breaking out of those sort of generational barriers, those societal barriers, and moving forward with that.
Great. You found your inspiration from helping others and finding those people who you can help really drove you to push further. So what's your advice to other youth if they want to follow their dreams? They have maybe have some ideas, but not necessarily sure how to execute them. Someone might be supporting them, but they feel left behind.
Honestly, it's worth a shot. One of my LPs and huge mentors, Ray Lane, Mr. Lane, has said this before. I'd rather that you fail at 50. It's easier to fail at 15 than to fail at 50. So I think this is the right age to actually, it's worth a shot to just try and execute your plan. And it's okay if you fail. It will hurt less. I promise it will hurt less at this age than it will later on. And even when you are at that age, it's still worth a shot and to try and execute your idea. But you honestly never know until you actually attempt it. And second of all, it won't be like a straight journey where you're just going to, get a lot of praises, get a lot of encouragement. It will be sort of ruggedy. It will be a mountain that you have to climb, and you will face that. You may face some sort of imposter syndrome at times where you don't think that you're able to actually continue this, or if you're not that you're not smart enough or perfect enough. But you kind of have to remind yourself of your end goal, whatever it is, and kind of remind yourself constantly that this is what you're fighting for, this is what you're really trying to push society's stereotypes for. So don't burden yourself with what other people have to say. You have to free your mind yourself before you can actually accomplish whatever it is you want to. So this is another quote that I would think about a lot, and with my Instagram account, we would post it quite often. Girls with dreams, little girls with dreams become women with vision. And just constantly think about that. The little kid with certain sort of astronomical ideas and dreams actually will grow up to have a vision that other people weren't able to see. So it makes sense to just at least give it, your best and give it a full shot.
Love that advice. Love that quote. Especially love that you said it's okay to take a shot, even when you're older. That makes me feel better. Thank you, Taarini, for being with us and sharing your story and inspiring a lot of us.
Thank you very much, Aditya, for taking the time and also taking time off of your July 4th weekend to be here and, help others from the Indian American community in the entrepreneurship and tech space.